was just going through the entire PowerPoint, and apparently it never started. So we're going to do this again from the top. So today is going to be the first time that we're actually getting into Unity. The title, Game Components, Game Objects, Components, and Scenes, is in reference to what Unity actually does and how it works. So the main three things that we're going to be doing with Unity that Unity uses, are the scenes, the game objects, and the components. And that kind of is a hierarchy. So in Unity, you have your scene, and I'll just read this real quick. Unity opens up only a scene in a single time, has an array of game objects that are in the scene. Each game object can have any number of components, and a component is what determines the behavior of an object. So in that sort of breakdown, we have our scene, which is the room that everything's in. The game objects are the actual objects in the room, and for each in each game object itself, there is any number of components, and these components have those raw variable types, those raw data types, and they also have functions that can be called and behaviors. And basically, putting a component onto a game object is what brings it to life. It's what makes it do things. So I have a screenshot here, and I'll pull up Unity in a sec so you guys can see on a video how exactly to start a project. But so here we have the scene. This is like, the game window, but this is like the scene itself. We have the main camera, something canvas event. Don't worry about this stuff. Each of these things is a game object on concepts alone. This is a game object. The scene is untitled. You can see how this is where all the objects are stored. Then over here, you can see I've got image selected. So the game object, you see it over here, and then it's got its various components: a rect transform, canvas renderer, image, which is a type. It's this image script, but image, it has a place for a sprite, a color, a material. These components define the behavior. In this case, let's break down the components. The rect transform is a type of transform. That is a thing that determines the position of an object. The canvas renderer plus the image script allow the thing to render onto the screen using a camera. So the camera will render all things with canvas renderers on them. And this, if we had a sprite, we could put it in here, and it would change it from this white box to an actual, sprite that has pixels and alphas and things of that sort. So let me open up Unity so you guys can actually see how this works. You don't have to download Unity Hub. You can just pick a version, but I like this because I can use multiple versions, which is sometimes relevant. Pick 2D. Delete me. Give it a sec. Running on Windows computer. Okay, honestly, a small aside. Macs are amazing for development, and I used to be a big Windows guy because I liked playing games on them. Macs are phenomenal for making products, for working on things. The flow is really great. The just the raw power that you get with a Mac, you can get that with a PC, but I don't know, man. The PC that I've been using versus the Mac that I've been using, they're at similar price points, and the Mac is just outperforming it all the time. Anyway, let's break this down a little bit. Let's look at how this works. So here we have sample scene. It's got its main camera. We want to make a new object. So we can create it empty. I'm actually going to use the image. I'm just going to create an image so you guys can see it. That'll put in some stuff it needs, aka the canvas. Don't worry about all these different things. It's way more complicated than that I'm going to explain. The point of here, and I actually put this in the last slide, but this is a good time to read it anyway. Unity's enormous. Nobody in the world understands all of it all at once. The things that I'm going to teach you are not necessarily going to give you the ability to do anything you want. Rather, it's going to give you the core tools you need to start, and from that point you will research and learn how to do the specific things you need, and that will allow you to create your own products in your own ways and using your own solutions. The only thing that I'm going to be able to help you with is learning how to start and learning how to find those things. So back to Unity. We've got our image. This is a game object. If we go to in the scene, scroll out, you see it gets clipped off at the bottom here. That's because this white window is a preview window. Put it in the middle. It's in the middle. This image script has a couple different variables. One of them is a color. You can change the color. It'll change the color of the image. One of them is a sprite. I don't have any of those right now, so I can't show you how that works. And then a material, which is sort of like a filter almost. If you need to use materials, you'll find out how to use them. Let me try creating a sprite real quick. All right, and then let's import a new asset. And boom. Now let's drag this sprite into here and check it out. Now it renders it. This is actually multiplying the color, so it'll change. It'll sort of act like a filter on top. But let's set it to native size, so it's 1:1 pixel size with Unity's pixel size comparison, and you can see the sprite exists in the game itself. It's really massive. I don't necessarily know if I like that, so let's use the scale. Let's say 0.5. All right. So now you can sort of see like this game object has this image. If I disable it, it doesn't matter what it is, the behavior is not going to work, the behavior is not going to activate or trigger because it's gone. This image is what gives this game object, let's call him dude. This is what gives him the presence, the visuality. Let's also, how far down is the script? I kind of want to just jump into that. I've in here, this PowerPoint's mostly for notes for you guys to reference. It's not really meant for me to go through because I really want to spend more time showing you the things in Unity so you can use that as well. I'll go through this just real quick though. So scenes, I called it a room earlier on. A more specific version of it is to say that like it is both the set of game objects and the infinite plane for them to exist on. In 2D. In 3D, it's, an infinite cube. The scene also has a camera. That's important. That's how you see the game. There's a lot more to anything that I talk about, and I'm trying to think if there's... I don't really think it's worth going into now. Again, you'll encounter problems, and you'll go through solutions and find out things that way. Game objects. They have components. These components are the critical pieces, and these critical pieces are what give it the behavior. As you see, in with this image, this is a component. The image script is a component, and it's what gives it the behavior of rendering something. It uses this to tell it how to render. It uses the rect transform to tell it how to render. Using some settings from the canvas, it knows what different things to do. If you think about it, each component is its own little code bit. Some of them you make, some of them Unity comes with. I've given a list of some common ones. Transforms, you pretty much always have one. Image sprite renderer, you saw that. Collider, I'll show you what that looks like. It's a lot of colliders for 2D. You want to stick to the 2D shapes. Let's do it's a box, so let's use a box collider. You can't see it in the game, but you can see it in the scene. Where's the collider? Size is 1:1. Now we're gonna bump that up. Weird. You can't see it. Usually it aligns itself just to like the box if that exists. Oh. There we go. Now let's try editing the size. No, it doesn't change anything. Ignoring that for now, this is probably something with the new 2019 version that I'm on. No, now I'm curious. What if I add a different collider that's a different shape? Now how do I know where you are at? Ah, okay. I probably just wasn't able to see it because of the image was too white, too bright. So we increase it. This is a width of, let's make it the same width. So let's go 700. 700. If you notice, the image will also stretch to those dimensions now. And then let's make its radius 700. Nope. It would be 350 because radius is half. There we go. So now it's tangent to the sides of the square. So that's how, that's a collider object. It helps with the physics system. Buttons. This is actually, you guys are going to end up using this for the assignment today. Buttons are a way, they're complex object. They have they have like a way for you to click into it, a way for you to put functionality of what happens when you click, ways to affect the graphics of a button. It's a really, really robust system, actually. It's very helpful when you're first starting out. And then custom scripts. This is what you guys are going to actually need to know. This is what the whole purpose of the first handful of lessons were for. Making your custom scripts is going to be the biggest part of Unity. So let's make one. And you know what? Let's do it in a way that lets us see how buttons can work too, because I like buttons. So let's create a button. And let's move it underneath the guy. And it has no functionality. That's perfectly fine. We know it's not going to do anything. But I'll play so you guys can see it, and we'll click it. Boop, 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 boop. It does stuff. Let's break into these open scripts, or into these custom scripts. So let's call this one color shift. And we are going to drag this onto our guy. We're going to add this component. Currently it does nothing. Sorry, my IDE is taking forever to load. Again, Windows. I'm going to try manually opening up one. Nice, that worked, actually. Okay. Okay, so this is the main entry point. Start and update are the two functions that Unity puts into all of its mono behaviors. For the most part, your classes are all going to be mono behaviors. You'll only make it not a mono behavior if it's not supposed to go on an object, which, if that happens, you guys probably don't need me. So, start and update are both really, really powerful. Start is called once, when the object is active, before its first update. And update is called every single frame. In basic game logic, we have a loop. We basically have something like and it's basically like while over and we're basically watching this whole time, and it just does like game logic. And until, like an exit condition happens, which would make not over false. Unity handles that for us using these update functions. Every script that you make will run update on all these frames. And that's how it'll end up doing your per frame logic. I just keep repeating this stuff. I'll show you. We want to shift the color of our guy. So let's do two things. Number one is the reference. We want to give it a member variable for us to work with. Let's use the image, and it'll be image. And this, I put this in the slides too, but I'll show you here as well. You can put serialized field, and what that'll do is this means that when Unity is ready, or when Unity loads the script, this variable becomes exposed to the editor itself. So let me reload for you guys and show you what that means. This little circle down here, the spinny guy, shows that it's compiling. So now, color shift has an image to shift. Let's drag in dude, and it will automatically grab the image component of dude. As you can see, it says dude, parentheses, image. So our code doesn't necessarily know what the reference is going to be, but it does know what to do for the references. We don't want to do anything in update. Actually, you know what? Let's do something in update. Color equals the current color. Here's a cool trick. You can use the word var, and it turns into whatever variable it should be, and then I use my IDE to then change it, in case I don't know how to spell it or need a new reference or something. Anyway, so, there's a Unity class called color, Unity class called image. These will have their own different variables. You guys remember the dot into something, how to access member variables. This is where this is coming in. So now we've got a current color, let's say current color dot, let's say blue, plus equals time dot delta time, this means the time between the float, or the time between frames, because 60 frames a second, there's still a time going on. And then if current color dot b is greater than 1, because we have a max of 1, it goes from 0 to 1. That's how colors work, is 256 different options. The float just means from 0 to 256. So if it's greater than 1, current color dot b equals 0. And what that'll do is that'll flick it back to the beginning. So now let's go back to Unity and we'll reload. Again, the little spinny thing. Oh, that doesn't actually do anything. Then we need to do image to shift dot color equals current color. So that way we actually set the color to the thing we modified. Does a reload. And dude has the reference. This should do something. And there you go. It makes the blue pulse. Now let's do something similar. And let's, instead of the blue, let's say the green. But let's say it's divided by 2. By the way, Control P lets you change it. So now it shifts colors at different paces. So update, it's running once a frame. And this itself, you just kind of learn these different abilities that you have, or these different things you have access to, by experimentation, by guesswork, really, by Google. I really recommend that in this assignment you take some time to explore, because number one, you're going to have 2 weeks on it. There's no way that people are going to feel comfortable pulling this off in less. So we're going to have a full 2 weeks to experiment. The things that you're going to be able to do are pretty much limited by what you want to look at and what you want to research into. So let's make a function for our button to run. So we have to make it public. It doesn't return anything. And let's say set color. We will do the image to shift, and the color becomes equal to, let's say, green. Just raw green. And when this function's called, then it will turn our color into green. So this is how buttons work. Buttons, you can create, this is the onClick function. It'll call a list of functions. Let's say it's going to call dudes from, I have to reload. I have to recompile. From color shift, it will call the set color function. There's a lot of these functions. These are basic mono behavior functions that you have access to, but you also can have your public functions that you made. So color shift.setColor. Now we hit play, and it's transitioning, but then we hit it and it goes to green. And we hit it and it goes to green. Even if for just a second it goes to green. We can turn off the update part of this too as well, so we can see it. And turns it to green. Boom. The important thing to know is that Unity works off of the system of scene, game objects, components. Components reference things directly, and you can change these references at runtime if you want. And you can, in the code, use those references and the pieces that those classes offer you to make additional changes, to do different logic, to do anything really. That's kind of the open-ended part of an engine. So the thing that you guys are going to be doing, let's delete color shift, and I'll make something that you guys can kind of use for the assignment. So delete that as well. No, not that. We'll delete you. And turn the thing off. Give it nothing. So let's create a small script, and we'll call it, where's create? There it is. Create set text. And what this will do, this will have text to set, and when it is set, actually, let's do this. Okay. The difference between text and string is a string is the raw data type, but a text is something that's actually used in the UI. So let's do this. Let's do void, public void. This. So this function will take the text that we're wanting to set and change its actual text to the body text. That doesn't make a ton of sense now, but you'll see what I mean. You'll see what this kind of does. So let's create a text object, UI text. That is horrible. I can't see that at all. What's it look like on the game window, actually? Yeah, it's still pretty bad. Let's make it bright white. And centered. Make it big so it has plenty of room to grow. And right now it says new text, and that's actually fine, so you can see it change. Now, on the button, let's give it the set text object. You can do it that way. You can also drag it. So we'll drag the text into here, and we'll say, this is a story all about how. And the buttons on click will add itself, because the function is coming from set, which is here on the button. So then we'll do set text, and what did I call it? Change to body text. So now it changes the text. Okay, I know that this was a lot, and it feels very overwhelming because I just sort of went through and showed you a bunch of stuff. I do not intend for anyone to leave this stream, or if you're watching it after the fact, leave this video understanding what you're supposed to do. I intend for this to be something that you can scrub through and look at, and use the PowerPoint and Google to eventually get it in your own way. Because this is a very powerful thing, and with a lot of power generally comes a big learning curve. So, your assignment, your first Unity assignment is very simple. Oh, you know what? I don't actually think I didn't actually put it in a file yet. So you guys get to watch it. Now, I'm leaving this very open-ended. Note, there's not a ton for you to do. I simply want you guys to, in your own way, using your own strategies, come up with a way for me to click these buttons and choose my own adventure. Change the button text, change the normal text, and it can be short, and in fact I expect it to be pretty short. Add in any cool visual things, explore. The point of this is for you guys to pursue your own thing and be able to have me to ask questions, because I know that there's going to be a lot of confusion regarding this entry point, really. So I'm going to there's only 2 people in the stream right now, so do either of you people have questions? I'll give it till 7:08 on my clock. If they don't have any questions, then we'll close the stream and I'll just unleash the assignment and you guys are free to run. The main thing here is that this is where I expect a lot of friction to happen. The lack of direction in assignment means that you guys don't know what to aim for. And to be honest, I think that that's really what's going to show you whether or not you want to be doing this. Because if you don't want to explore this thing, if this isn't something that you want to pursue, you would enjoy doing this as a job or as a hobby, because you would be, you'd be in the same thing, except for you'd also have responsibilities in addition to, someone telling you find solutions to this. All right. No one has said anything, so at this point, I know I said 7:08. No one has even said anything, so I'm just going to call it early. I will post the link to this video when I finish uploading it, and I will post the the 1-line assignment. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. Really consider whether you want to create something that's a bad way to phrase it. Figure out what you want before you start jumping in and making something. I promise if you do that, it'll be much easier to actually sit down and figure out what you need to do. The biggest piece of advice I can offer you is have Google up the whole time, and don't be afraid to look stupid, because whatever problem you've had, someone else has also had it. Alright, that is it for this stream. Thank you guys for coming, and I wish you luck in the assignment.